Alright, so this is a continuation of my one cost fixing video, link in the description, where I talk about how I make Marvel Snap cards more playable. Okay, so Baron Mordo is sometimes touted as like the worst card in the game, and now with Mobius that especially seems the case. My fix for Baron would make him at least playable, but not horrible. The fact of the matter is, it's hard to buff this card without power creeping Iceman. One idea is to just set the cost of a card in the deck to 6. That way you're not letting them draw it, which is why he's bad. But I'd also include the stipulation that it doesn't target cards that are already 6, the same way that Iceman doesn't. If he still sucks after that, because he might be hitting cards at the bottom of the deck or something, then I'd keep that effect, but make it so it always hits the next card that your opponent's gonna draw that isn't a 6 card. Now that sounds like it might be a bit too much, so I don't think we have to do that second part, but I mean, who knows, maybe he would suck if it was just anyone rare in the deck, but I think that'd be a good change. After that, you just adjust his power depending on how good he is. So I was gonna address Star-Lord and the rest of the Guardians, but the hard truth is there's no making them good unless you just give them like absurd stats. This is one of the few cases where they all as a group just need to be reworked completely, or else it's just the effect, it just doesn't work unless it's insanely broken. No one will run it because it's just too luck dependent. But the Guardians as a whole might be a topic for another time. Alright, Beast. Oh my god. I don't care what anyone says. Beast got absolutely massacred. Like, they had to make him bad so that Black Swan didn't seem so bad in comparison, but all they did was give us 2 shitty cards instead. I understand that old Beast is really good, but I think just nerfing him to 3-2 or something would have been fine. This is less of a fix, and it is more of a nerf rant, to be honest. Goose literally just needs one change, and it makes him way better. Just change it to that nobody can play cards where their base cost is higher than 3. That also stops death, because originally it just says 4, 5, 6. So if you just change that to base cost, then death still gets around that somehow. So you need to change it to where it says base cost is higher than 3. That way nobody can be using Zabu to cheat out 4 costs, and like I mentioned, death. This alone would honestly make Goose pretty good, but I honestly don't think it would hurt to make him a 2-3 on top of that. Just because like Goose is, just because of how underplayed it is, and the change isn't major, so I think a power point on top of that would be fine. So I'm hesitant to include Mojo because he can be good under certain circumstances. I mean, but it depends, it kind of works with Junk, but it's not feasible. I think making him a 2-3 would be fine. That way at worst he's just a vanilla 2-3, which is still pretty bad, but it doesn't feel awful. Alright. So I'm gonna piss off a few people by saying this, but Lizard needs a buff. Like, let's be real. He's been power crept. Like, that's really the issue with most of these cards, but I feel it a lot with Lizard. And to give you a good example of what I mean, America Chavez, when she was a 2-3, had a 2-5 value if you include her ability, and she wasn't even great, right? Like, Dazzler and Mojo can both be 2-8s, and like I said, earlier, like Mojo isn't even that good. So Lizard can still be good with Sauron, and like I get that people use him for the priority, but all I'm saying is, like, not to make him a 2-6 or anything crazy like that, but just go back to the -3. Like, there's no need for the -4. Like, I really don't think Lizard would go back to being meta if that was the case. Alright, so we're going to wrap it up with this one. Colossus. Colossus actually has a great ability, on paper. If he had this ability with the stats of the Hulk or Magneto, I mean, he'd be incredible. Maybe a bit too good, but 6'10" maybe, I could see it. Maybe even 6'11" if we're being generous. But the point still stands that the ability is really only good if you're using it to protect from Shang-Chi. It also has like the keeping it from power reduction, but I mean that's a bit more of a niche effect. You really want it for that Shang-Chi protection. Because right now, the only thing Colossus is used for is like maybe a destroyer deck, I guess. But if you made him a 6 cost, or and if you made him a 5 cost with 10, I mean, that'd just be too much. If you made him like a 6/10, right? I think it'd be perfectly fine. I'll be making a video on all the other costs, so stay tuned.